following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Chris Kleiman is not hitting the panic button on the 2024 season, and neither should all of us. Helps when you put things in perspective. With K-State's current situation, there's a new college football playoff poll. Even though K-State's lost 2 games, and one of them was to Houston, it's still probably the second best resume out of the Big 12. Other, of course, than BYU. But, of course, on Saturday, Arizona State's coming in, and you thought with that Houston game and moving forward, that was a stretch of the season that K-State should take care of business. That was a stretch of the season that didn't change a whole lot from what was expected in the preseason. Even though Cincinnati and Arizona State, they're better teams, hell, probably Iowa State's better than expected, it still feels like a winnable stretch, but things have changed a little bit with the Houston result. Welcome to The Game. Mitch Fortner, AJ Shaw with you. We're with you until 6 o'clock. We're live on YouTube. Search for News Radio KMAN, and you can watch the live stream, but of course you can also watch us after the show. And if you don't feel like using the YouTube, you can use the podcast. On Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen to the show, just search for The Game on 1350 KMAN. A fun show ahead of us. Coming up here in hour number 1, going to speak with, as a matter of fact, I spoke with her earlier today, rising star for K-State women's basketball and Kennedy Taylor, who has been so far a dominant forward for K-State. Had a double-double the other night. She started against Belmont in the spot of Aoka Lee, who is going to play on Thursday against Creighton, and so is Taryn Sides. K-State's going to be at full strength for this matchup against the Blue Jays Thursday at 5:30. But Kennedy has already, just out of the transfer portal, has blossomed to become a dynamic backup for Aoka Lee. So she's going to share with us her recruiting story, becoming a Wildcat, backing up Aoka Lee. Did she initially want a starting job when she entered the transfer portal for her last year of eligibility? We're going to take a look at the LSU Tigers along with Cam Carter's now on that team, and they're coming in Thursday to play at 8 o'clock. We're going to hear from the voice of the LSU Tigers, Chris Blair, calling in at 5:25 to preview LSU for that matchup on Thursday. And, of course, with K-State football, does Cam Skattebo, does he play on Saturday? And what's the impact if he does or if he doesn't? And I'm going to tell you at 5:10, if he doesn't play, that is a major impact for Arizona State. Jabroni of the Week later on in this hour as well, and I try to reserve, AJ, a little bit of extra time for Jabroni of the Week this week because there's probably a couple of conversations that need to be had, but I'll go ahead and tell you right now, the Chicago Bears are not involved.
Oh, thank God.
I'm going to give you a break because 2 weeks in a row, the Chicago Bears were brought up. There was one Jabroni of the Week, and then last week, I think it was last week, right? A dishonorable mention.
Yep. DJ Moore.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't know if you saw it, but today they fired the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. So the car crash continues at Hallis Hall, which is actually funny. The Bears never fire coaches midseason for poor performance. Typically, if they're going to fire them, it's because of some issue in the workplace. I don't know if you remember the story from last year. Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, got fired, and they had some story out that his house got raided by the FBI or whatever it was. So, yeah, it's not a good time in Chicago.
Who's going to be the new OC? Dana Holgerson?
Funny.
Yeah.
That's
kind of a running joke.
I know. I was actually talking to Peter about that, who works here, and he's a Nebraska fan. He's like, so glad Satterfield's gone. I'm like, but Dana Holgerson?
Yeah, I'm not. We're past the halfway point of the season. I'm not sure Dana is at his best when we're halfway done with the season.
Yeah, for sure.
I think history tells us it gets worse as the season goes along. Ask Mountaineer fans.
True.
Ask Houston fans. Dana Holgerson, now the OC. After he was with TCU, now he's the OC for the Nebraska Cornhuskers and head coach Matt Rule. All right, I want to get to lead off with some Chris Kleiman audio leading off with the show. By the way, the phone line and text line, they are open. 785-537-1350 if you want to call us or text us with a question or comment. Mentioned the panic button. This was at the press conference yesterday. This was like the last comment of the press conference. Now, when it comes to, like X's and O's and personnel, any questions you would have about K-State heading into this game, I think most of it's obvious, and I know we all have our concerns about the offense moving forward, just not seeing enough growth over these last 3 or 4 games, a lot of issues with the running game. That's no secret. Not a lot of breaking news from this press conference. Sounds like, K-State's the healthiest it's been other than the season-ending injuries for a couple of linebackers. But injury-wise, doing pretty well. Think that maybe we'll see, Braden Lofton at tight end potentially out there and playing quite a bit against Arizona State. But this was it kind of turned into let's pick Chris Kleiman's brain a little bit and ask these certain questions. And it was then turned into a last question about, is this like an install game? Is it kind of a reset game for I think it was generated towards the offense on the question. This was a 1.5-minute answer from Chris Kleiman. I'm going to play the whole thing, and then we'll react. Here's Chris Kleiman talking about not hitting the panic button.
We lost a football game that none of us thought we should have lost, other than Houston thought they were going to win, and that's what we're talking about here. And guys, I've been a part of this at my previous school where you lost a game and you couldn't go out in public. You can't hit the panic button. And I really believe our staff, our team, our players, notice how I say our, never my, have done a phenomenal job of not having those roller coasters. And I'm not going to hit the panic button and say we've got to make all these drastic changes, because the track record of our program has been really good when we've stayed the course. I get frustrated. Any of these captains, any of these older kids get frustrated when we don't play to our best of our ability, but you got to turn the page. In life, you better turn the page. And I've had as tough a week as I've had, non-football related, with some family things, and it puts a lot of things in perspective. I'm fortunate because I got a ton of people around me that believe in me. I got an AD that's got my back. I've got a bunch of people in a lot of places that have looked out for the Kleimans, and I'm thankful as heck. And I'm going to go into this week and be excited about being around these guys, be excited that we get to play at home, because we never get to play at home very much. The bill is going to be packed. It's going to be fun. And let's celebrate this rather than try to find the negativity.
Okay, so there's a lot to, I guess, unpack there, First of all, with his family thing, I hope everything's okay. Hope everybody is okay, and those things got resolved. But the not hitting the panic button thing, I totally understand where he's coming from, and not trying to find the negative and focusing on the positives. Look, we are a crazy fan base who have tasted success. There's no going back from the crazy, because we have high expectations. We do. And I'm saying I'm a part of this, right? I'm a K-State fan. I've been a K-State fan my whole life. We have high expectations. It's hard sometimes, though, to focus on the positives, even though you're 7-2 after losing to Houston. And let's be real, that was really tough, right? It's taken a little while to get over that, especially with the bye week, and you don't come out the next week and play somebody. That Houston loss has just been lingering. It just left us with 2 weeks of questions of like, are we going to see the improvements that need to take place? But yeah, 7-2 is definitely not bad. You're a top 20 team. It could be way worse. And to touch on the success of this program, yes, you can't say it's been bad really for Chris Kleiman. I mean, he's 46-26, won a Big 12 championship in year number 4. This is year number 6. It's had its ups and downs, and it's had its downers, right? I think you could go year by year. I mean, 2019 beating number 3 Oklahoma. It was a top 5. Thank you. Top 5 win, first one against Oklahoma in a couple of decades. That was big, and it was his first year. Starting with 8 wins, fantastic. Then he had COVID, throw that out the window. 2021, Skylar doesn't stay healthy. 2022, Big 12 championship after you thought, well, we kind of let the the rights to that second spot in the Big 12 championship slip away to TCU, and then Texas helps out by losing to TCU, and then you beat TCU. 2023, that game at Texas, and that goal to go, 4 plays, will never leave our heads. And then losing to Iowa State in the snowstorm. Couple of downers, but still had its moments for sure. 9 wins is great, but it just didn't reach expectations. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Expectations. And where we're at with K-State football and expectations this day and age. When it's the most biased college football mentality it's ever been. With the SEC in the Big Ten, who are, with the 12-team playoff, it's an expectation, because they're powerhouse conferences. They should get 4 in every year. Honestly, for the Big Ten, they might be the most top-heavy it's ever been, even though I feel it's overrated. College football doesn't really have that phenomenal team, with maybe the exception of, at this point, Oregon, who's undefeated at number 1.
Just a random thought. You mentioned expectations. Did you ever watch Mad TV growing up?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the segment, Lowered Expectations?
That I don't remember.
Yeah, for some reason that popped in my head when you mentioned that.
I remember, look what I can do. Stewart?
Yeah.
You remember Stewart?
I believe so, yeah.
Adam Ray was really good on. Anyway, But going back to the expectations of K-State football. The expectation is everybody wants to see their team in the tournament. And I say the tournament because it's like the NCAA tournament for basketball. That's the expectation as a power program. Now it's harder, especially with the Big 12 not being at the caliber of the vision of college football as the Big 10 and the SEC. But even in basketball, the Big 12 for a number of years, because it just had less teams, actually had less teams in, but it was a percentage, right? K-State would get 6 or 7 in. You're talking about 70% of your conference. And with the numbers growing, actually you'll now see probably more often than not the Big 12 get more teams in. So we kind of know better there. But with football, losses mean more in the Big 12 than they do the SEC and Big 10. But we want K-State to get to the college football playoff now that K-State has a spot at the table. There's an automatic bid. That automatic bid is winning the Big 12 championship, and it's just, please get to the top 2. Bowl games outside of the college football playoff hardly mean anything anymore. The Holiday Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, their prestige of what it used to be, it's not what it used to be. The Holiday Bowl isn't as big of a deal as it was the last time K-State played Arizona State in 2002. Now, there's a new college football playoff poll coming out tonight. We'll see where BYU lands. But that is to me, that was a clear picture of the thought on the Big 12 and where college football is at this season, that it's very top-heavy. The SEC is a mess.
Yeah.
But it's been such a mess, and because of their strength of schedule, it could be more than 4 teams getting in this year. Notre Dame is going to have a spot. Now there's 2 teams that are just butting heads for that group of 5 spot in the college football playoff. Just somebody will have to lose. And then the Big Ten is super top heavy. They're no doubt going to get 4 teams in. There is not enough room. There is no chance in my mind that the Big 12 will get 2 teams in. There is no chance. I do not see it happening. I do not see a scenario of that taking place. K-State would have to be the savior there and go on a run. But the thing is, BYU does not play a tough schedule the rest of the way. They're ranked 9th. An undefeated season with a strength of schedule in the 50s, that just doesn't get you far anymore.
Yeah, you would definitely see a lot of complaints from the SEC fans and the Big Ten fans of, why is BYU getting in? Well, they're going to get in as a conference champion if they do get in. People are going to be complaining about that for sure.
Well, if you go back to college football, the playoff rankings in previous years, the previous decade, even with Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12 wasn't getting more than 2.
Yep.
Wasn't getting more than 2 in the college football playoffs. So the odds are a little bit more stacked against the Big 12 BYU right now is the top team and a record of 9-0. Do they move up from 7? Because you did have some teams in the top 5 lose, but how is that going to affect BYU's spot, especially with a very emotional and a close win at the gun to beat Utah? We see that as Big 12 fans who got introduced for a lot of us the first time to the Holy Roar as a crazy game. But does the committee look at that and like, Utah was a 4-win team? You escaped with that. How does that make BYU look? Here's an issue for the Big 12. There's no longer the true round robin. I think that was a luxury back in the day where everybody played everybody. K-State is the only team in that top 6 of everybody who's at least 4-2 that literally played every one of those other 5 teams. BYU has only played 2. I still feel like BYU has been, kind of screwed a little bit in that first ranking at number 9. But there's not really anything left to prove themselves like, hey, we just won all these other games. We should be up higher if they go undefeated. They're going to have to make that statement in the Big 12 championship game. But again, going back to the expectations of K-State football, yeah, everybody would rather get into the college football. Well, maybe I shouldn't say everybody, but I'm sure there's a lot that just, hey, like in basketball, yeah, winning the Big 12 tournament, that's cool. But there's a lot of people like, you know what? I would rather just lose the first game and just be ready to play in the NCAA tournament if we're good to go.
Yeah.
Bubble team, it's another situation. But the expectation of being in the college football playoff is super fair. Plus, if you think about it from an NIL standpoint, like, Jerome Tang, this is a big year because somebody out there invested $2 million, allegedly, into Coleman Hawkins.
Allegedly.
They want a return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're not getting to the college football playoff, when there's at-large bids and the Big 12 champion gets in, especially when you won a title 2 years ago, there's just natural. I think it comes naturally. There's more of an opportunity to play for a national championship, more than there's ever been. And when you've had a lot of success under Kleiman, like K-State has, where you've tasted a Big 12 championship, you want more. And you're right there. You're right there to become the top team in the Big 12. Take over. That's a lot of people's expectation. It's not just K-State. Everybody feels like they're hungrier for more of an opportunity. It's more real than it has been in a long time because other than K-State shot in 2020 or 2012, heck, I think it's just everybody's expectation now that it's just going to be the SEC and Big Ten that win national championships. And if K-State wants to win one, you're going to have to do it in basketball. But it's all about getting there and getting to the college football playoff. That is, I think, is a fair expectation. Let's take a break. When we come back, going to hear from K-State women's basketball forward Kennedy Taylor. Her becoming a Wildcat and blossoming over just a few games to be a trusted backup to Ayoka Lee. The K-State women are now 10th ranked in the nation, and they're going to be hosting Creighton on Thursday at 5:30. My sit-down with Kennedy Taylor from earlier today coming up next on The Game.
You're locked into The Game on News Radio KMAN.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's space for public safety or community gathering, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
At Meadowlark, every day is game day. Our team is recruiting nurses and certified nurse assistants for full-time and part-time positions in long-term and post-acute care. This game-winning environment is perfect for passionate and dedicated all-star caregivers. Join the Meadowlark team today and take advantage of increased differentials for night and weekend shifts. To learn more, call 785-323-3898 or search online for Meadowlark Careers in Manhattan, Kansas. MVPs work at Meadowlark.
Save big money on everything for your staining project at Menards. Minwax makes it easy to stain and protect any wood project from start to finish. For your next interior wood project, Minwax Wood Finish is the perfect choice. It's a penetrating oil-based wood stain that provides beautiful rich color in just one coat. Save big money on all Minwax products at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through, or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
The problem is the stupid banks will loan you so much money that they put you in bankruptcy because they don't have an off button. They'll just loan you money. You know, you can go get a credit card, you can go on a trip you can't afford, you can go down here and get a car. You know, there's actually people out there walking around that still think that if the bank will loan it to you, it means you can pay it. The same people that think if you have checks left in your checkbook, there must be money in the account. Same people.
Life and money advice. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. For the 4th time in her career, K-State senior center Ayoka Lee has been named the Women's Basketball Coaches Association Wade Watch List. The award is given to the best player in women's college basketball. Lee was previously named to the watch list in 2021, 2022, and 2024. It's one of the oldest and most prestigious National Player of the Year award in women's basketball. It is named in the honor of the late legendary Delta State University head coach Lily Margaret Wade, who won 3 consecutive national championships with the Lady Statesmen. After sitting on the sidelines for their second break of the season last Saturday, K-State ramps up their prep this week ahead of hosting an Arizona State team that is right with them in the Big 12 standings. With the second off week, Chris Kleiman's team was able to get well.
A lot of our younger guys getting some full padded practices, playing against each other, giving our older guys that have played a lot of snaps a little bit of a break. So much from a recovery standpoint. We were able to get a couple of days in. Didn't put pads on with those guys. Have a number of kids that are still nursing some injuries, but I believe that everybody will be available for this Saturday.
The Cats at Arizona State kick off at 6 Saturday night with coverage here on News Radio KMAN and our sister station 101.5 K-Rock starting at 2. Now back to the game on News Radio KMAN.
During the break, got a message from, just say Joe, on Twitter, because I don't know what all these letters and numbers mean after Joe, but was asking what I meant about K-State going on a miracle run or a dream run. So I didn't explain that. What I basically mean by that is so BYU, if they win out, I mean, who knows where they're going to be in the playoff ranking. The thing is, K-State by winning out, Colorado losing a game and making it to the Big 12 championship game, they have not only the chance to get to the Big 12 championship, but they'll have the best resume than anybody in the Big 12. With, of course, besides BYU being undefeated, K-State winning that game would give them the automatic bid. Would that keep BYU ranked high enough? It's kind of like 2022, K-State beating TCU. With the way that game unfolded, I mean, any K-State fan would say, yeah, TCU absolutely deserves to be in the college football playoff. They didn't move in the rankings. You would assume BYU would. It would just kind of depend on a lot. But to me, that's the miracle situation of where the Big 12 gets 2 teams in. More than that would have to happen, though. I mean, teams from, 6 to 11, it would have to be some mass chaos is what I'm trying to say to get 2 teams out of the Big 12 in. Iowa State, I don't think, can do it. They've lost 2 games, and they don't have the potential to build a resume like K-State does. Because K-State's the only team to play all of the other top 5 teams. BYU's going to play just 2. I think Iowa State plays just 2. So scheduling with adding teams, it's tougher to, as a Big 12 team, depending on schedule, to have a resume that just competes with those in the SEC and the Big 10 when you're not playing all the top teams, with some of them being ranked. Okay. Now to K-State women's basketball. 2-0. They're going to be hosting 1-1 Creighton on Thursday. And I talked yesterday on Wildcat Insider how pleased I've been with 6'2 senior forward Kennedy Taylor. She's a Shawnee Mission, Kansas kid. And I mean, out of the gate, in 2 games, playing 17 minutes a game, she's averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds. She is shooting 61.5%. And by the way, 12 of 14 from the free throw line. Has been a phenomenal addition so far for K-State women's basketball. She has proven already to be a big get for K-State when it comes to backing up Ayoka Lee. I had the opportunity to catch up earlier today with K-State senior Kennedy Taylor at the basketball training facility.
Well, Kennedy, I really appreciate your time. What's it been like these first couple of weeks playing K-State basketball and not only playing here, but playing super well?
I mean, I'm really excited to be here. I feel like this is like a dream come true for me, to be able to spend my last year at a program that's so welcoming, so loving, so like caring. I'm so happy to be here, and I feel like a lot of my success has come from me being in the right spots and my teammates finding me, or me finding my teammates to help get second chance points.
So not only do you come to K-State as a transfer, but also a senior. You got this is your last year. Originally, coming out of the transfer portal, was the initial goal to be, listen, wherever I'm going to go, I want to be a starter, I want to be one of the top players? Was that the initial plan?
I wouldn't say that was the plan. I think my whole goal was just to go somewhere that I felt like I could showcase my talents and kind of play on a little bit bigger of a stage than where I was. I mean, I feel like Missouri State was very helpful to me, and they helped me learn a lot of things about myself and who I am as a player. But I feel like for me, I just wanted that last year to just kind of be on a bit bigger of a stage and help me with some of the developmental things that I feel like I was lacking. And so, yeah.
When you entered your name into the portal and your recruitment opened up, what was that like? Was it chaos? Was K-State one of the first teams there? Take me through that whole thing of, what led up to becoming a Wildcat.
It was definitely a little chaotic. I remember putting my name in the portal, and I went and talked to our compliance lady, and she was like, okay, well, you should be in, the next day. So I go to sleep, wake up next day, kind of doing some things, hanging out with some of my teammates at that time. And then I start just getting emails on top of emails on top of emails on top of emails. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I got like a whole bunch of emails, and I was like, whoa, this is getting overwhelming. So I was sitting in the car when this was happening with one of my teammates at the time. So we got out, and I was going up to my room, and I had called my parents. I was like, just going to tell them like about all the emails that I was getting. And then I'm on the phone with my mom, and then I talked to her on speaker. And so I looked down at my phone, and it says, Coach Ebony, K-State. I said, Mom, Coach Ebony Halliburton from K-State is calling me. She said, you better pick up that phone, and hung up on me. So I answered, and she was like, hey, Kennedy, you know, I just want to cut to the chase. Like, we're really interested in you, and I want to offer you a scholarship right here on the spot. And I just started freaking out. I just was like, oh, my goodness, like, this is crazy. And so, like, I talked to her, and then she was like, okay, well, you know, we're going to get back to you, and Mitty wants to talk to you. So I hung up the phone, and I called my family back immediately. I was like, guys, I just got offered from K-State. Like, this is amazing. And my dad and my uncle were at the gym, and my mom was at home with my brother. So everyone was celebrating on the phone, and it was so exciting. So I feel like that is what led up to me being here. Long story, but yeah.
So did it take just a few days to get to campus and visit and check out the place?
Yeah, it didn't take too long. I think when they called, I think I came on a visit maybe about 2 to 3 weeks later, I think. So, yeah, and I think the second time when we had our Zoom call with Coach Mitty and Coach Hal, I committed right on the spot. So, I mean, just everything that they were talking about and everything that they were saying, it felt like it just fit everything that I was looking for and I had been looking for a while. So
it sounds like it was a pretty quick process for you. Mm-hmm. Is that because maybe a couple of things? One, you already had previous relationships to this place, or, you know, K-State women's basketball has been on a very quick rise with this group of players. Is this something that you already knew about and you would think, man, that would be great to play for that program?
I did. So 4.5, almost 5 years ago, I came on a visit here, unofficial visit. And then I think I just ended up going somewhere else, going a different direction. But, I mean, I've always had ties to this place. I mean, it's like an hour and a half away from home. So you always heard about K-State basketball or KU basketball or Washburn or some school in Kansas. So I feel like I've always had a tie here. But, I mean, it does help that, you know, this is a really, really good program, highly touted. So, I mean, I'm just excited to be here. So happy.
So what's it like? I know you probably get asked this question a lot, but competing with Ayoka Lee, who's for years now has been one of the best centers in America.
Mm-hmm. I feel like being able to go up against her every single day is not only helping me develop as a player, but helping me realize things that I'm like, okay, I could fix this, because it's like she's either stopping me here or I'm not stopping her there. So I feel like just being able to go up against an All-American every single day in practice is just something that'll definitely help me going forward in my career.
It's huge that you already so early in your K-State career, you've blossomed so quickly and you've put up some really great numbers, especially when Yoki's not in a game and you start and K-State feels like they can do the same things without her with you that previously couldn't do. I'm curious to know about when you get here in the coaching and the process, like, is your game much different than Missouri State, or is there one or two things you do differently now because of just the style of play here?
I think I do some things differently just because of the style. It's a little more open than the play at Missouri State was. I feel like hold on. I still do some of the same things that I did at Missouri State, but I feel like I take those things that I did and I do them here, but I'm able to do it at a different level than I was able to do there. So I feel like I've just been trying to continue to expand my game and work on some things that I probably couldn't do at Missouri State that I'm able to do here now.
I think you've brought a new comfort level for K-State fans when it comes to depth. So far in these first couple of games, has there been a specific play that you're thinking back like that probably is the best example of my talent?
Well, Coach Mitty actually brought it up in practice today, but the game against Belmont where me and Zai had the block down on one end on the floor, and then we both ran back to the other end of the floor and made an offensive play on that side of the floor. I feel like that's, for me, is like, that shows that that's something that I'm really strong at. So, like, I try to make sure that I put myself in the right positions defensively. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like that play, or just when I come in, or for instance, the Green Bay game where when I came off the bench, I immediately went for an offensive rebound. I feel like that's another thing, or another play that I had that kind of showcases what I can do.
All right, got a couple more for you. It's already been a pretty interesting schedule with two very possible NCAA tournament teams. I would expect Creighton to be an NCAA tournament team. What is the competition level been like so far? I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with Belmont already, but you feel like you guys are being tested pretty early here?
I definitely do. I feel like everyone's throwing their best play at us, and I really enjoy it because every team we played has been really good. I feel like as we get deeper into this non-conference, we're really going to be tested by a lot of the teams that we face and we see. So I'm just excited to see what we're going to be able to do against everyone when they give us their best performance every single night.
Speaking of Belmont, their bigs like to play away from the basket. Was that something you were comfortable with for that game?
I was, just because we've played them 5 times, I think. So in the past 2 years, I've played them 5 times, and so every time it was make sure you get out to 14 with a high hand, or make sure you're here, make sure you're pushing this post up. So I feel like going into that game, I already knew how I was going to guard everybody and what I needed to do. So it's like I was trying to make sure that since I knew what I needed to do, I was helping everyone else on the team because I was so familiar with their starting 5. So.
All right, well, I'm sure this will not be the last time we chat. We'll have more in-depth talks about games and your play, so I want to wrap up with this. I just want to pick your brain because it has to do with the K-State men, and I don't know if you noticed, but during their starting lineups, they have allowed their players to have their own song during starting lineups, which I've never seen before.
Oh, wow.
Coach Tang was like, they do this in baseball, so let's do this. This is a lot of fun. Would you like that to happen for the K-State women?
Gosh.
And to really put you on the spot, do you know what song for the lineups that you would walk out to?
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. I always do see it in softball or baseball or volleyball, like when they're up to serve, or maybe that was just at my last school, but they had songs, so every time they were about to serve, they had a song that would play for a little bit. Ooh, a song that I would pick? That is a great question. There's so many good ones. I probably could name 2. I would say first one would definitely be Flashing Lights by Kanye West. I really, really like that one. And then a second one, I would have to say My House by Beyonce. That's a really good one too.
I like that second pick. All right, last question. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Absolutely not. Please, please do not give me pineapple on pizza. Please don't. That's so gross.
I think you just became one of my favorite players. Kennedy, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you and best of luck this season.
Thank you so much.
K-State forward Kennedy Taylor. All right, I got to ask the youngsters across the glass, how did we feel about that Kanye-Beyonce pick? Cole Dutchendorf is here. He's learning the board from AJ. He's not on mic, but Cole says those are 2 really good picks. What do you think, AJ? Do you know those songs?
Well, of course I do. Kanye's from Chicago. I have to know that song.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, my personal opinions of Kanye West in recent years aside, that's a pretty good song. I'm fine with that pick.
All right. So you guys are in do you know the Beyonce song that she was talking about?
What was the name of it again?
Now I don't remember. House, something like that. My House. Which I was like, the title of that song, I was like, yeah, that's My House.
My House.
Like, that's a great sports-minded title.
I may have to play the bed music coming back now.
I mean, what athlete, when they make a play, like back in the day, maybe, I know like during my era, like who didn't yell, "This is my house"? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of saying that's cap or that's, whatever the kids say, "This is my house."
Well, now everyone says "let's go."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody says that.
I'll be honest, that's been around for a long time. I'll be honest with you. I may have yelled that once or twice at a blackjack table. Not in a game, a blackjack table. We got to take a break. When we come back, we finish up the hour Jabroni of the Week after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
So from Osawatomie to Ottawa, from Leewood to Liberty, this may be a day Kansas State faithful will never forget.
This is The Game on News Radio, KMAN.
Spice up your event with Qdoba Catering. Our burrito bowls, nachos, and salads will taste oh so delicioso with juicy smoked brisket and adobo marinated grilled chicken. Fresh fajita veggies and hand-smashed guac will add a burst of flavor to your meal. Place your order today. Qdoba, united by flavor.
Feed your team with the Qdoba Tailgate Pack. Touchdown with our nacho bar. Get your game rolling with a 10-pack of burritos or snack for the win with chips and queso or hand-smashed guac. Order online or give us a call.
Few people choose to go into a nursing home. However, many people feel more independent when they no longer have to rely on family and friends to take care of them. When that time comes, consider visiting the Leonardville Nursing Home. Their dedicated staff will provide your loved one with the dignity and respect they deserve, offering interesting activities and a home-like environment with private rooms available. Call them today at 293-5244. Leonardville Nursing Home. They care.
This Saturday is Fort Riley Day at Bill Center Family Stadium as K-State hosts the Arizona State Sun Devils. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. That means PowerCat Game Day, the biggest pregame show in the Big 12, will begin at 2 p.m. PowerCat Game Day is brought to you by Prairie Land Partners, Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, Culver's, and the McCain Performance Series. Listen to PowerCat Game Day on 101.5 K-Rock, News Radio KMAN, and online at PowerCatGameDay.com.
At this very moment, Doctors Without Borders is on the ground in communities around the world, delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most. Our teams are bandaging war-wounded patients caught in the crossfire in Sudan, providing clean drinking water in Haiti, and performing emergency C-sections in Yemen. Doctors Without Borders teams are in over 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving work is made possible by our movement of supporters, people like you who help our patients even when they're half a world away. At Doctors Without Borders, we won't stop working to bring our patients and their communities from crisis to care.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All the way to the goal in the throwdown.
Man.
He's open for three. Yes! Yes!
A Wildcat.
3 seconds to go. Scoop shot. Yes! At the buzzer.
Be a part of the Wildcat voyage right here.
Now goes back in. There's the lob and the throwdown.
On your home for Kansas State Wildcat basketball.
The Cats play here. 1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calls for a chance of showers and possible thunderstorms tonight, mainly between 2 and 5 a.m. A low of 51, that chance of rain at 60%. Slight chance then for morning showers tomorrow, but will clear up as the day goes on. Sunshine, a high of 58, with wind gusts that could get as high as 25 miles per hour. A low of 33 then tomorrow night, with mostly clear skies.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! You jabronis hit the jackpot!
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan!
Al? Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the Week.
All right, it's time for 3 dishonorable mentions, and I will, of course, end with my official Jabroni of the Week. That might be predictable, but what about the 3 leading up to it? Dishonorable mention number 1, Let's start with Georgia's safety, Jake Pope, who basically just plays special teams anyway, from what I understand. So Georgia upset at LSU this past Saturday, 28-10 final score. Bulldogs, the Rebels rushed the field. They get fined. But the celebration is on. And during the celebration, there was video that went viral. And, well, Jake Pope is jumping up and down and celebrating while in Georgia uniform, jumping up and down and celebrating, kind of like half hugging an Ole Miss fan. Now, he has come out with a statement. He says, first and foremost, I want to say sorry for the way I was taken out of perspective. Let's start there. Taken out of perspective and caused distractions, commotion for my teammates and coaches. I don't think I need the rest of this. I think after that, he is an automatic transfer. Once that portal opens on December 9th, Pope might be forced to go in as the first name into the transfer portal. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody decked him by now.
Okay, he said, I was put in the wrong perspective?
First and foremost, I want to say sorry for the way it was taken out of perspective. How else would you judge that? You celebrated as a Georgia player with an Ole Miss fan jumping up and down. What's the perspective like? The only thing I can imagine is like he was trying to get out of that crowd of humanity. So it's like you're on a dance floor. How do you get through this dance floor, a crowded dance floor? You dance your way through.
You do a little shimmy.
You shimmy your way through. When you're dancing, people just kind of naturally get out of your way.
Well,
So was he jumping up and down to just try to get out of there without getting punched or something? He was worried about somebody throwing a right hand?
Someone's not telling the truth here.
I don't know if it's, trying to cover his own ass is what he's trying to do. Make it seem like it wasn't what you saw.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one way to take it, and that's by what you saw. He's out of there.
He's gone.
I would have to. So
oh yeah.
Don't worry about the fans. Worry about your teammates. When they see that, you're dead. Dishonorable mention number 2. Not going with the Chicago Bears, but gosh dang it, I got to bring up the Dallas Cowboys again. And I got to give it to Jerry Jones. There was a play in the first half against the Eagles, which it was a one-score game, and Cooper Rush should have thrown a touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb, but the ball just kind of goes right by him. And he says he didn't see it. Why? Well, 325 kickoffs prevent kind of an issue, or actually not prevent. 325 kickoffs always have this issue coming from the southwest corner of the stadium.
It's that old Texas sun.
Yeah, if you've never seen AT&T Stadium, you may notice there's a giant window at the end of the stadium. And for 325 kickoffs, especially this time of the year, that sun is blasting straight through. From day one, that flaw of the stadium has been brought up, and since day one, Jerry Jones has been defending it. Well, of course, he's on edge because the Cowboys suck. And he basically said, why don't we just build a whole new damn stadium? And it was brought up that there's curtains that they can close. They're there for concerts. They can use the curtain and just close that off.
Uh-huh.
He's not into it because he feels like it's a part of the home advantage. Well, you know what to do with the coin toss. Well, you're not guaranteed to win the coin toss, Jerry. My last dishonorable mention, I got to give it to the Denver Broncos. They lost in a very Utah type of way, not exactly with a penalty necessarily. It was just the last second kickoff, or the last second field goal blocked, but also the Chiefs kind of slowly came back. But missing the field goal was pretty big. Here was the call from Mitch Holtis of that missed field goal.
Lutz waiting for the snap. Laceman is down. Lutz is kick. It's blocked. It's blocked. It's blocked. The Chiefs blocked the kick. They're going to stay undefeated.
The Broncos do not score in the second half. For a lot of that game, the Broncos was the better team. It was a very big defensive game. I didn't think Bo Nix played that bad. But the Chiefs just once again just pull one out of their backside, thanks to Leo Chanel, whatever you say his last name, to get the Chiefs to 9-0 with just a mediocre offense. I know a lot of guys are banged up, but they somehow got to 9-0.
It stinks Troy's not here today because it would have been interesting to hear what he had to say on that Brandon Peoples was making the comment in a little group chat that he felt bad for Troy, who had to read about that in his sports updates 6 times yesterday morning.
Well, and it's Jabroni-esque because Bo Nix could have been a hero.
That's true.
And
they haven't won at Arrowhead in 10 years, right?
The losing streak is 8 games now.
Yeah, they haven't won since, I think, their Super Bowl season.
All right, but my Jabroni of the week, I got to give it to Utah AD Mark Harlan for the end of the game. Utah should have had a stop on a sack, fourth and long, deep in BYU territory. They get the sack, but it turns out a corner for Utah with a holding penalty, and it gives BYU a first down, and BYU marches down the field, kicks a game-winning field goal, 44 yards. Well, Mark Harlan was not happy at the end of that game. He starts calling out some folks. He was unhappy with the officials and the Big 12. He started burying people.
We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed. I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight.
Okay, look, as soon as you start yelling, that was unfair. You're like a kid on the playground that wasn't picked for the good team on flag football or dodgeball, and you get your ass kicked. It's unfair. They got that kid. He's good. Plus, a couple of things as well. That was absolutely holding. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely, and I'm sure he didn't see the play live. He was watching the backfield like most other people. You're not watching down the field or whatever. You're just watching the quarterback get sacked. You don't see the hold. And then, by the way, then he gets fined by Brett Yormark, $40,000. It reminds me of that scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High at the restaurant, at the fast food restaurant, where the guy's like, this wasn't the best breakfast. I want my money back, please. It's not the best analogy. It's a good movie. All right, hour 2 of the game coming up next. Does Cam Skattebo play for Arizona State Saturday? And we're going to hear from the voice of the LSU Tigers, Chris Blair, in hour number 2.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. You'll spend less time driving, saving you gas and time. And more importantly, you'll get home quicker to the ones you love. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
Midwest Ace, around the block with what you need in stock with people who know how to help. Shop in-store or online for whatever your home or your yard needs. Choose from top brands like Milwaukee, Stihl, Traeger, and Benjamin Moore. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks.
It's turkey time at Baskin-Robbins. Get your favorite flavor of ice cream decorated like your Thanksgiving turkey. Order before November 15th and save $5. Order in-store or at BaskinRobbins.com. There's nothing out there like a turkey cake from Baskin-Robbins. Get your order in soon to make this the best Thanksgiving yet.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
No matter if your flight is departing or arriving, travel is more convenient when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago. Plus, by booking your next flight through Manhattan Regional Airport, you'll spend less time driving, saving you both gas and time. Why spend hours on the road when you can spend more time at your destination? Or more importantly, getting home quicker to the ones you love. Get back to the convenience of flying local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
Mahomes stepping up. He's going to scramble 15. He's at the 10. Cuts back inside the 5. Mahomes rolls into the end zone. Touchdown! Kansas City! A 14-yard scramble for a touchdown.
This is the home of the back-to-back Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. Hi, I'm Mitch, voice of the Chiefs. Be here for game day coverage from kickoff to the final whistle. One team, one kingdom, one station. Manhattan's home for the Chiefs. News Radio KMAN.
What? You want more? You got more. More of the game coming up next on News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by the Flint Hills Discovery Center. Host your next event or holiday party at the Discovery Center. Visit FlintHillsDiscovery.org for more information.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calls for a chance of showers and possible thunderstorms tonight, mainly between 2 and 5 a.m. A low of 51, that chance of rain at 60%. Slight chance then for morning showers tomorrow, but will clear up as the day goes on. Sunshine, a high of 58, with wind gusts that could get as high as 25 miles per hour. A low of 33 then tomorrow night, with mostly clear skies.
It is hour 2 of the game after work. Mitch Fortner and AJ Shaw. We're with you until 6. Coming up later on in this hour, roughly 20 minutes or so, we'll be hearing from the voice of the LSU Tigers, Chris Blair. K-State men host the LSU Tigers Thursday night at 8 o'clock for the tip-off. And the K-State women play at 5:30. It's a doubleheader, 5:30 against Creighton. The women's game is on ESPN2. The men's game, ESPN+. It's pretty cool to see the K-State women get that national exposure so early on in the season. Creighton now outside of the top 25 due to a loss last week to South Dakota State, but they did beat Drake last night. Drake's a very good team, so tough schedule as well for Creighton to open up the year. I'm going to talk more K-State football here in just a moment. Real quick, on tomorrow's show, it's our bi-weekly interview with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtis. Now I got a feeling a lot of our conversation is going to be about Taylor Swift. The reason is because Travis Kelce was on Chiefs Kingdom last night. Now, we aired it late because we aired Monday Night Football, so we had to wait until 11 p.m. to hear Chiefs Kingdom, but his guest last night was Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce said, I've been reading this article rather. They put it out on US Weekly, and I think it's like one of those like celebrity gossip magazines or something like that. Relationship stuff, whatever they're doing with their personal lives. And of course, they probably cover everything Taylor Swift. With Travis Kelce on Chiefs Kingdom last night, Trav said, quote, "You already know I rave about you. Every single time, whenever we make big plays and I always hear the radio call come across my timeline, I make sure she listens in because you always fire everybody up, baby." So I'm sure Mitch is going to come in with a big old ego and feeling really good. I'm pretty sure that Mitch Holtis has not met Taylor Swift yet. I know everybody getting annoyed or whatever about her being on TV. I don't have a problem with it at all. She's one of the most famous people in the world. She's one of the most famous musicians to ever live. Like I said the other day, she is absolutely past Elvis at this point. In fame, there's no doubt about that. But now Mitch just wants her to meet his grandkids, maybe trying to work his way into making that meeting happen, which is harder than you might expect. But I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But US Weekly put out an article on Mitch Holtis. It's pretty neat. Okay. Let's talk a little K-State football. 7-2, 4-2. Arizona State coming in Saturday night to play K-State football. Cats are also 7-2, 4-2. And kickoff is at 6. Power Cat Game Day will start at 2 o'clock. Myself along with Tim Everson, Mason Voth, and Zach Nemechek will get your pregame coverage started at 2. Breaking down this matchup, predicting some games, talking about the loss to Houston, and setting the table for the rest of the way for the Cats to try to do their best to make it to a Big 12 championship game with a little bit of help of hopefully Colorado losing one of the last 3 games. And it feels like right now the best hope, and you hate to admit it, but the best hope is in the hands of the Kansas Jayhawks. That's the last road trip for Colorado the rest of the way. There are 2 home games. They're going to have Utah this Saturday. It's an 11 a.m. game, which actually 10 o'clock Mountain Time. And you wonder, how do you think the officials are going to handle the next Utah game? After Mark Harlan flaps his gums and buries the officials and the Big 12. after the loss to BYU. Now I'm kind of throwing it out there. I'm not necessarily speculating that they're out to get Utah, but it is an interesting storyline. What I'm trying to say is I don't expect Utah to lose to Colorado. Not at all. And then the last home game for Colorado is Oklahoma State. No, not going to happen. That'd be a miracle at this point. Gundy's cooked. The Cowboys are cooked. Their season is kaput. The road trip after this week is to KU and Arrowhead Stadium, so need the Jayhawks to get it done one time for us. Okay. But a big factor in this contest between K-State and Arizona State, the running game. Cam Skattebo and DJ Giddens have been two of the top running backs in the country this season. Now, with the lack of success in the running game in 2 of the last 3 games, Giddens' numbers and just K-State in general, the rushing numbers have dropped. They're not top 5 in the nation anymore, in pretty much all categories. They are up there, halfway through the season. They were up there. Not the case anymore. K-State's not the leading rushing team in the Big 12 anymore. Arizona State, led by Cam Skattebo, has been certainly up there as well. Cam Skattebo is a star. Transferred in from Sacramento State. He's now in his 2nd year with the Sun Devils, and he is right now 10th in the nation. 1,001 rushing yards. Giddens, by the way, is 11th in the nation at 995. But he is 2nd in the nation in all-purpose yards. He only trails one player. Take a wild guess of who that player is. Boise State's Ashton Jeanty. The player behind him in all-purpose yards is Cam Skattebo of Arizona State at 175.6 all-purpose yards per game. So, yeah, he's a big deal. He did not play this past Saturday against UCF at home. Now, Arizona State was able to get it done. It was close, but they got it done. They needed a big stop, and they got that stop. So let's take a look at both sides because he had an injury. He did not play against UCF. He is questionable for the game on Saturday, which my gut feeling is that he is going to play. He tried to get in the game second half against UCF, was not allowed to. My gut, and I don't know anything, haven't heard anything behind the scenes, but my gut says he plays, but we'll see. But we'll take a look at both sides. What will it mean if he does play? What does it mean if he doesn't play? What if he does play is quite obvious. Cam Skattebo is literally 40% of their yards in scoring on offense. You're going to get, if you're K-State, the best shot from Arizona State in this game if they do have Cam Skattebo, who I think we can admit will not be 100% if he plays. Going to try to give it a go at practice. He's not going to be 100%. But even 80%, Cam Skattebo is deadly because he is hard to tackle. He is hard to stop. He can be a problem. As a matter of fact, Chris Kleiman was asked about Cam Skattebo yesterday at his press conference.
He's a stud. He's a downhill guy, but he's got enough quickness. He's got great hands out of the backfield. He'll pass protect. He's an every down back. Fun kid to watch. He breaks tackles. You're not going to arm tackle him. He's had a tremendous year, one of the best years in the Big 12, and deserves all the accolades that he's receiving, and he's a terrific player.
And if he plays, I do worry about K-State tackling him because the tackling for this team has regressed a little bit. It's just not as strong in the solo tackling department. I still think the linebackers, the D-line, they're doing a great job. Secondary trying to stop the run. They've had a lot of missed tackles, and I shouldn't just put it all on them. It's just not as clean as it once was. You don't solo tackle Cam Skattebo. So K-State's going to need to have multiple guys in the right spot to make plays on him all night, and he's absolutely going to be a focus. Cam Skattebo, you need to know where he's at all times. If he's on the field, if he's in a receiving situation, if he's off the field, you got to know where he's at and then adjust accordingly for your defense. For all the teams K-State has played this year, you can argue, other than Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, when it comes to a player that's most important for a specific team, he is up there. He might be top of the list. Cam Skattebo is that big of a guy, that big of an asset for the Arizona State Sun Devils. 6 yards per carry. He averages 22 carries a game, It's not the biggest workload, but it's a pretty solid size of a workload this day and age of college football. Let's take a look at what if he doesn't play for Arizona State and what that means for the Sun Devils. And I touched on that a little bit. But he accounts for 40% of their offense this season and 40% of their scoring. They're a decent scoring team. Not all their points, of course, come from the offense. I'm just going in general their points. He accounts for 40% of that this season. So not having him is a pretty big blow. If I were to give you a K-State comparison of his numbers and his all-purpose and his scoring, it's like not having DJ Giddens, but also not having Keegan Johnson. So you're talking about your top rusher, and in the receiving game, Keegan's not your top guy, but the numbers match up almost on the money with Cam Skattebo in the receiving game when it comes to catches and yards per game. So you have to find two people for K-State to replace, or, the comparison, right? I had to go to find a second guy for K-State to make that comparison because Cam Skattebo gets the ball that much. Against UCF without him, Arizona State did win 35-31. UCF is not a good team, but they do have R.J. Harvey, and they really relied on R.J. He ran for over 100 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. For Arizona State, it was a very slow start. To even take the lead, they had to have 2 non-offensive touchdowns. And then the rest of the way, I should say to take the lead, they had to get within a score with 2 non-offensive touchdowns, a blocked punt and return for a touchdown, and a pick 6. So a couple of mistakes there for UCF. And then for the offense, Arizona State did just enough to win the game. Arizona State had 260 yards in the game. 260 yards.
It's ridiculously low.
221 of that was on their 3 touchdown drives of over 70 yards. That was just enough to win the game, and that was at home against UCF. My thoughts on the game will literally come down to, and K-State's chances to win will literally come down to, does Cam Skattebo play or not? Because he's that important to Arizona State. If they have him, this is going to be an interesting game. If they don't have him, of course I like K-State's chances because they're a lot better than UCF. And they're not playing at Arizona State. They're not playing at Sun Devil Stadium. They're playing at Bill Snyder Family Stadium at night, which hopefully will be a rowdy crowd.
I am a little disappointed that we will not see the home Arizona State uniforms, the black, the all black. I love that uniform with the yellow helmet. It's my favorite combo right there.
I like the pitchfork logo. I also like the Sun Devil logo, like what you saw in the 2002 Holiday Bowl when K-State played them. Like that logo with the yellow helmet with the red stripe.
Yeah.
I always like that look. I hate how small the last names are on the back of their jerseys.
That I do agree with you on. The last names are a little too small.
Like, I ask my spotters, because there will be dual names, or not dual numbers. Dual numbers. They share numbers, and like on special teams. Sometimes when they give me a number on the tackle for Arizona State, they give me the number. I have to ask for the last name because it could be either one of the 10s that are out there on special teams that could make a tackle. So then we're like trying to track down a last name. Well, these are the smallest last names in college football.
The worst is when you get a block punt and you get some like random guy.
Yes.
You get a guy like he has a number of a familiar player, but you know that's not the player. So you're like scrambling around to try to figure out. That's the beauty of having a spotter.
That reminds me, I can't remember what game it was. I think it was a couple of years ago. I can't remember the game. But Marvin Martin.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Returned a block punt for like 8 yards.
Is it West Virginia? I was against West Virginia.
Was it a West Virginia game? So that would have been 2 years ago or 3? 2021.
I remember it because I called that game for KSDB.
I totally forgot there was a Martin on the team.
Well, it's funny because I was looking at the back of the roster, and I probably guessed 3 or 4 times. Oh, it's this guy. Ultimately, we decided it was Marvin Martin because the name was like, there's a Marvin Martin on K-State? Yeah, that was a very interesting moment for sure.
Well, and that was my transition back into covering K-State football after doing 5 seasons of soccer. I was hardly keeping up with K-State football, like the recruiting and stuff like that. Was hardly paying attention because I was all K-State soccer at that point. But I, of course, would watch the games and go to the games.
That was your first year full-time, right? As play-by-play?
SPA? No, SPA. 2021, yes, it was.
Got you.
So, big factor for Arizona State. By the way, they also have it sounds like a linebacker is also questionable. I should have pulled up their name, but apparently is one of the best run stoppers. Arizona State has been very successful at stopping the run this year at a pretty decent clip. I mean, UCF had to run R.J. Harvey quite a bit. And, I mean, against UCF, I think Arizona State without Cam Skattebo averaged maybe 4 yards a carry. So they needed a little bit of success in the past. But like I said, they did just enough to beat UCF. They needed that one touchdown. Keyshawn Elliott, thank you so much. He is a good run stopper. He has over 40 tackles this year. A linebacker was held out of the UCF game, and he could apparently be back as well this Saturday. So my guess is that we're not going to know ahead of game time if Cam Skattebo plays or not. I guess we'll probably find out if he, while he warms up. If he warms up, I would assume, because he's just that kind of warrior. And if he was ready to go, if he thought he was ready to go to play second half against UCF, I expect Cam Skattebo to play. But that's not guaranteed. That's just my hunch about the Sun Devils heading into Saturday. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, by the way, Power Kick game day at 2, kickoff at 6 at the Bills Saturday, Fort Riley Day against the 7-2 Arizona State Sun Devils. First meeting since the Holiday Bowl in 2002. We're going to hear as we switch to basketball, K-State men hosting LSU. We're going to hear from the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, next on The Game.
Miss any of the show? Check out The Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and of course, NewsRadioKMAN.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals, to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that. Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store? We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that.
Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The experienced professionals at the Trust Company are recruited specifically for their financial, legal, accounting, and business expertise. They're also your neighbors who, guided by your hopes and dreams, will continue to deeply understand your aspirations and goals. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. Hungry kids get sick more often and can struggle in school. It can be harder for them to focus and learn. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures.
We want to ensure that all of our kids have healthy meals every day.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping feed our kids.
To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
All the way to the goal in the throwdown. Man. He's open for three. Yes! Yes!
A Wildcat.
3 seconds to go. Scoop shot. Yes! At the buzzer.
Be a part of the Wildcat voyage right here.
Now goes back in. There's the lob and the throwdown.
On your home for Kansas State Wildcat basketball.
The Cats play here. 1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. For the fourth time in her career, K-State senior center Ayoka Lee has been named the Women's Basketball Coaches Association Wade Watch List. The award is given to the best player in women's college basketball. Lee was previously named to the watch list in 2021, 2022, and 2024. It's one of the oldest and most prestigious National Player of the Year award in women's basketball. It is named in the honor of the late legendary Delta State University head coach Lily Margaret Wade, who won 3 consecutive national championships with the Lady Statesmen. After sitting on the sidelines for their second break of the season last Saturday, K-State ramps up their prep this week ahead of hosting an Arizona State team that is right with them in the Big 12 standings. With the second off week, Chris Kleiman's team was able to get well.
A lot of our younger guys getting some full padded practices, playing against each other, giving our older guys that have played a lot of snaps a little bit of a break. So much from a recovery standpoint. We were able to get a couple of days in, didn't put pads on with those guys. Have a number of kids that are still nursing some injuries, but I believe that everybody will be available for this Saturday.
The Cats at Arizona State kick off at 6 Saturday night with coverage here on News Radio KMAN and our sister station 101.5 K-Rock starting at 2. Now back to the game on News Radio KMAN.
Catch a vibe, catch a foot when I drive. Big pressure, I apply. In the ring, you won't survive. Yeah, I swerve when I drive. Yeah, I swerve when I drive. Yeah, I swerve when I drive. Defeating me, you lost your mind. Top rope, catch a vibe, catch a foot when I drive.
If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say.
You were on camera, by the way.
That's fine. Talking to everybody watching the YouTube channel. The YouTube stream, I was doing the Swerve Strickland dance. Like I said, if you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say. AW Dynamite, Kansas City, December 11th. Go get your tickets.
Do you have your tickets yet?
Actually, I am talking with AEW to get credentials and also to do some giveaways here on the show. So, working that out. So if you want to go watch some AEW, might have a chance to get some tickets from me coming up here very soon. I haven't taken a chance yet, taken a look at it. I would imagine we have some action tonight, which I'm always down for, even though there's some good college basketball in tonight. Oh, we got Ball State Buffalo. Okay. How about this could be a good one tonight. 6 o'clock ESPN2 starts in 30 as I think KU getting ready to play Michigan State, right? They're about to tip off, I think. Western Michigan, Bowling Green. Well, if you know Maction, you know that's a real big one. They're both 4-1, 5-4 Western Michigan. Western Michigan used to be like my go-to team to play in dynasty mode back in the old college football games. When if I wasn't playing with K-State, they're my action team. I'm a Western Michigan guy.
Did you ever play NCAA basketball back?
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to remember the last game that came out. I think it was 09.
I don't know.
It was either 08 or 09.
I think there was a game with Poland in it. So yeah. Now I think the floors were unique, like the basketball. The courts were unique, but the arenas were not. All the arenas were the same. They didn't put any work in the arenas. And I remember every time you shoot a three, the crowd would just immediately on the release go, 3. And that got annoying. I was like, nobody does that.
Yeah, the last one was NCAA Basketball 10. Came out in 2009, and Blake Griffin was on the cover. The last one I played was 09, and Kevin Love was on the cover.
Okay, I was about to ask, who are all the cover athletes for the NCAA basketball games? There was once upon a time, and I think there was just one, but there was an NCAA baseball game.
Yes,
and
2006.
It was really fun. Yeah. I liked it a lot. The worst EA Sports game of all time is the one where you could just be a coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
You remember that? Terrible game.
I remember that
Terrible.
One. I was very underwhelmed by that. Yeah, MVP 06 NCAA baseball. David Merle, Texas Longhorn, was on the cover.
College basketball tonight, KU and Michigan State scheduled to tip off at 5:30. My feed of ESPN is all messed up, so I can't watch it. The State Farm Champions Classic, and then tonight, Duke and Kentucky. UCF playing Florida Atlantic. Baylor taking on Sam Houston State at 7. TCU hosting Texas State. Utah against Queens University. So everybody's watching KU tonight. All right, Thursday, the K-State men hosting the LSU Tigers. This is the third meeting in the last 3 seasons, with K-State winning the previous 2, including winning last year in the Pete Maravich Center in Baton Rouge. Cam Carter is now a player for the LSU Tigers, former Cat the last 2 seasons. We're now pleased to be joined. We now have on the phone Chris Blair. He's the play-by-play voice for the LSU Tigers. He'll be coming up to Manhattan for the game on Thursday. Chris, real quick to bring up football-wise, you just had a night game at Death Valley, and I know way, but as a broadcaster, it's kind of like on the bucket list to one-time call a night game at LSU. I'm sure no matter who the opponent is, you always got to be pumped up to call a night game in Baton Rouge.
I think you're right. But first, Mitch, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's a thrill that never, ever, ever gets old. Nights like that, you hear a lot nationally about Tiger Stadium at night, how it is the most intimidating atmosphere, and they've won a lot of games in those situations. Obviously, they didn't give Alabama a ton of credit, but as far as being a stadium lit up like 11 on the dial, it certainly was. Everything but the play of the team. And missed opportunities, I think, loom large. But for me, never gets old to be in there with 102,000 plus, 250,000 people around a 1.5-mile, 2-mile vicinity of the stadium all afternoon long. Doesn't get much better than that, and I still continue to pinch myself.
To put you on the spot, Chris, is there a particular game that stands out when it comes to a night game, Death Valley, huge game, that was the night that you felt like you had the best environment, the best game to call at Death Valley?
Yeah, there were a couple. I think there are 4 that stand out to me. There were 2 during the 2019 season with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Terrace Marshall and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the list goes on. But, the game against Florida at Tiger Stadium where it was close early and then the Tigers exploded and pulled away late. And then the Texas A&M game during that 2019 season. That was the season after the 7 overtime game in Bryan College Station, where there were, a lot of things that went crazy. LSU ultimately lost that game, but they absolutely throttled Texas A&M in front of a capacity crowd. The other that stands out was last year with Jaden Daniels, 2022. Jaden Daniels defeating Alabama in overtime, going for 2 after tying the game in the first session. That was just pandemonium. That was crazy. And then the Florida game in last year, where I think Jaden basically secured the Heisman and put on one heck of an individual show. And in all 4 of those games, the stadium was lit, the atmosphere was there, and again, you just get caught up in it all. But that makes it, it's kind of like when you play golf. You had a bad round, but you finished that 18th hole with that 285, 300-yard drive, and then you're like, hey, let's play another 9. That's what it's like to be there in those situations.
College Game Day was in Baton Rouge this past Saturday. I've known about this particular line or channel, whatever you want to call it, but Pat McAfee was really stirring that up a lot during that show. It reminds me because K-State for years has had a vulgar chant towards KU, and the administration and Jerome Tang has tried their hardest to shut that down, and I think Tang has done a good job of that until they play KU, of course, and you're going to hear it all throat and very loud. Is that just the students doing their thing and the adults are like, okay, whatever, or is it frowned upon?
Well, I mean, I think obviously you're going to have a mixed bag. You're going to have some that like it because it's a tradition. You have others that certainly feel like that's not the place, and it shouldn't be on that type of stage. When on Saturday between College game day and the game itself, at least the first half, you have a lot of eyes that follow the college game, and again, I think it's a mixed bag. Give the students a little bit of credit and creativity. However, there was originally kind of a song that was, the music led into that. Now the students can take any song the band plays and turn it into that. So it's kind of it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle. I'll put it that way.
Chris Blair is our guest. He is the voice of the LSU Tigers. So we got a big game on Thursday. It's a test for both teams. K-State going to be playing this one at home against the LSU Tigers. Both teams are 2-0. Obviously, a huge storyline is the return of Cam Carter to Bramlage. 2 big seasons for him at K-State. He was, of course, a key piece to K-State's Elite 8 run a couple of years ago. And now he's closer to home, playing for the LSU Tigers. I would just love to get your first impressions of, you've seen Cam play a handful of games. How well do you think he's doing so far?
Oh, he's been tremendous. I mean, I think back so far through the first 2 games, he's scored 21 points in both, and I think back to last year's game when Kansas State came to Baton Rouge, he scored 21 points against the Tigers. So that seems to be his number, at least here of late. And I'm not sure, I've joked with a number of people, I'm not sure how Cam snuck out of Donaldsonville, Louisiana, which is just a short drive from where I'm sitting right now, and ended up at Kansas State and wasn't an LSU Tiger to begin with. But kudos to the Wildcats to get him out of the state. But it's good to have him back home, and great young man. I think he's a great character guy. And really, he along with Jordan Sears and Jai Bailey, who were brought in out of the portal in the backcourt for Coach Matt McMahon. I mean, when you look at the number of minutes, I think Coach told me before the season, those combined have something crazy like 7,000 career minutes on a Division I college basketball floor. And in this day and age where the backcourt is so important in the college game, to have those guys and Cam kind of be the leader of that group has been wonderful. And, I think can only help LSU. And, moving forward, you're just trying to kind of meld this team. And that's the world we live in now. I mean, it's not really building programs these days as much as it is building a roster year to year. And that's a huge challenge for, I'm sure, Coach Tang. It's a huge challenge for Coach McMahon and everybody across the country. But it is always good. I've talked to a lot of former players here at LSU. I've talked to former coaches. I work with one on the broadcast. And I'm sure it's the same in Kansas. When you have somebody, whether they played 4 years here, 2 years here, or just 1 year, to be back in your home state, it means a lot. And you get solid effort from those young players. And I think Cam is exactly that. And the benefit is, of all the places, you talked about being at Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night. I've had the privilege of calling some basketball games in some iconic venues, but this will be my first trip to Manhattan, and I'm looking forward to that because of the atmosphere of K-State home games. And, it's nice to know that at least one guy on this team has some idea of what to expect, and hopefully he can prepare the rest of the team for Thursday night.
Cam he's a really interesting kid because I've spoken to him many times, and I could tell when he's out of his element a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit of a quieter guy. He's soft-spoken, but it's funny because at Big 12 Media Days, actually a couple of years, this has happened where we'll ask players, like, all right, just some fun questions. All right, like, who's the biggest trash talker in the Big 12? You may be a little surprised to hear that. A lot of people say Cam Carter is that guy to do a lot of talking on the court. But I'm just interested to know, like, have you had many conversations with him yet and got to know him?
Yeah, we have talked quite a bit. In fact, he joined us following the game earlier this week after, again, he had 18 second-half points to help LSU erase the 6-point deficit at the half, and he was a big part of it. So we had him on the post-game show. And, it's interesting because, I've been around this sport long enough to know there are a lot of guys who, off the court, are extremely gentlemanlike, soft-spoken, and not trying to absorb all the oxygen in the room. And that's different when they cross that line. And it's pretty evident to tell Cam's that type of alpha competitor when the game starts. And so, again, when he comes over in the postgame, you're like, this doesn't seem like the same guy that was out there scrapping for 18 second-half points to finish with 21. So, yeah, it doesn't shock me that he could be that guy when you get between the lines. But it's nice to know that he knows when to turn it on and turn it off. Not a lot of people can do that.
So the other night, like K-State, you guys start 2-0, and the other night you guys played Alabama State. That was a 13-point win, but I do believe Alabama State was leading in the second half for a lot of the second half, and the Tigers were able to build a lead and win the game. Maybe not the most convincing win, and like K-State the other night playing Cleveland State, it was a closer game, but maybe not the most convincing, but they got it done. The question is, like, how did that game continue to stay tight? What was Alabama State doing, or maybe what was LSU doing to make that competitive?
Well, the thing I took away from the game, and I hoped LSU fans did, because typically you're going to see a 12, 13-point win over an Alabama State team, and you think to yourself, well, we didn't play really well. But the bright spot for me, Mitch, was the fact that LSU did not shoot the ball particularly well in the first half. They had some good looks. I gave Alabama State a ton of credit. I talked to their head coach before the game. He said, if I could get this team to play defense, offensively, we can score points. We just got to play defense. Well, they must have listened because there were a ton of contested shots in the first half. There were tough shots that LSU was unable to knock down. But LSU hangs their hat on defense, and that's a big difference from the last 2 years under Matt McMahon. It wasn't because he didn't want to. He just has some guys on this roster, Cam included, that will dedicate themselves. I've always said offensive talent, a lot of it's God-given, and then you work on it and you hone it and you make it good. For me, defense is all about the want to, and this group has a want to. So they got down not only 6 at the half, but were down by 10 with about 12 or 13 minutes to go to Alabama State. But it was the defense that eventually got the offense going. And a lot of times when you see teams, either young teams or teams that haven't played a lot together, which LSU is a perfect example of, the offense, when it doesn't come, the defense lags. And through the first 2 games, what I like about LSU is that doesn't deter them from playing great on-the-ball defense, contesting shots in the lane. There wasn't a whole lot of open threes for Alabama State. I think they went 1 of 12 or 1 of 13 from downtown, and they were all contested. So while it wasn't the most pretty win for LSU, the thing I took away from it was the fact that the defense kick-started the offense. And a lot of times in this sport, that just doesn't happen. So I took it as a positive sign coming away from the matchup earlier in the week.
Yeah, I find this game to be fascinating as well because, these two teams have just played 2 games. It's a lot of guys learning to play with each other. And so you're going to probably see these 2 teams grow in different ways on Thursday, and it's going to be a battle trying to get to 3-0. So I'll bounce off what you said on defense and go in this direction. So I think with K-State, there's things obviously they need to work on, and some things maybe a little bit better than you would have expected this point of the season. But K-State individually has talent like Brendan Hausen is just crushing threes, and as a team, you want to see them rebound better. Either as an individual player or as the team together, are there those positives or are those negatives right now that could be key factors against K-State?
Yeah, I think LSU is still trying to find their rebounding prowess, and a lot of that is because they don't have your typical 5. It's a team made up of guards and forwards, some athletic guys who can play at the rim, and again, Coach McMahon has said from the very start, to be effective on both the offensive and defensive glass, it's going to have to be a team that rebounds by committee. And I think they're getting a tad bit better at that. And that'll be huge coming up against a team like Kansas State because, the first 2 matchups against ULM and against Alabama State, it's a team that when they did get offensive rebounds, Mitch, they still weren't able to really make you pay. They had to bring it back out. LSU got back into their half-court defense, and then you got a contested shot. Better teams like a K-State or the teams you'll face in the SEC, they get an offensive rebound in the lane. That makes it very tough because those guys know what to do with it. So, I think that'll be a big factor for both teams going in as to who can keep the other off the offensive glass and keep some really talented offensive players from getting second and third looks every possession. Offensively, LSU is going to shoot. I've asked Coach McMahon a number of times through the first 2 games. There's been a lot of threes taken, but a lot of twos taken. They've shot the ball better, obviously, from the 2-point range than they have from 3-point range, but they can get hot. And that was the difference in the game earlier this week, where they struggled a little bit from the 3-point line, but a couple of huge threes down the stretch broke the back of Alabama State. So the potential is there, but shot selection is cool. Matt McMahon says, hey, I don't mind 30, 31 threes attempted, but it better not be off the dribble, contested rise and shoot threes. It ought to be in rhythm. It ought to be penetration, kick out passes, or ball reversal passes for an open look. If that's the case, he can live with 3-point shots, and he can live with 30-plus 3-point shots. But because you don't have a true back-to-the-basket center, Jalen Reed is a guy who I think will have a big impact this year as to the success of LSU because he's very athletic. He's a strong young man with plenty of size, good handle, and while he's not a traditional center, he can bring the 5 out, to the free throw line or beyond, and then try to break them down one-on-one and get to the rim. And that's really what he's done. His first part of his career here at LSU, he likened himself to a 6'3" guard shooting threes. He's kind of learned from that. He knows where his strength is, where his bread is buttered, so to speak. And to me, that will be another big factor in how well he plays and how Kansas State tries to defend him or deny him the ball in the lane.
All right, Chris, we'll wrap up with this. And you mentioned earlier this is your first trip to Manhattan, and I love that. You get to experience the Octagon and Doom, and I think this will certainly be the loudest environment so far this season. It's super early, but it's a big game, and it's a known team, a known brand that K-State's facing. I don't know if you ever heard about this, but on a special occasion, K-State will bust out Sandstorm. And it typically happens when, the opposing team not doing as well. K-State goes on a run, second half, TV timeout, Sandstorm, they turn down the lights, cell phone lights go on, and it's a pretty crazy environment. But only happens on special occasions. Does LSU have anything only for special occasions is when a particular tradition is busted out?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not a specific thing that is done. Obviously, when LSU starts winning games, the Maravich Center is built here in Baton Rouge on campus. The acoustics reverberate, and that's where it got its nickname from Dale Brown's days, and obviously Shaquille O'Neal as the Death Dome. And I can attest to the fact there have been games since I have been here where I can't hear myself. I mean, I have a headset on and I have it, turned all the way up. So, but not a particular, sequenced event that happens on special occasions. And frankly, the good news is I did a football game earlier this year in South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium with 77,000 plus. And they played Sandstorm about every 30 seconds. So I will be I don't know if I will be shell-shocked when it happens or if it happens, but at least I'll be used to the tune.
With that, Chris, safe travels up to Manhattan, and I really hope you enjoy your time up here, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mitch. Looking forward to it.
Huge thank you to Chris Blair, the play-by-play voice of the LSU Tigers, coming to town for a Thursday night game, 8 o'clock tip-off. Coverage right here on K-Man. We'll have the K-State women beginning at 5 and tip-off at 5:30 against Creighton. It's going to be a really fun doubleheader. If you have a ticket to the men's game, you get into the women's game for free. That's really cool. Just sit in the GA section. Get 2 games for the price of 1. In Bramlage Coliseum, 2 really good games this Thursday night. I was also told by Chris, this was before we had our interview. We were talking earlier today, and he told me they're coming onto this trip with them is actually going to be like a bunch of donors and sponsors. So they're bringing quite the party with them to Manhattan, and they said they're going out Wednesday night and they're going to be on Points. So don't be surprised if you see a bunch of LSU gear on Points Avenue Wednesday night. With that, let's take a break. We'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
Throwing it upward. Pullman, he makes the catch at the 5. Touchdown, K-State! Touchdown, K-State! Touchdown, K-State! Touchdown, K-State! It was a broken play! A broken play!
This is The Game on News Radio, KMAN.
Hey, Wildcat fans, tickets for all 16 home men's basketball games are on sale now. Get yours today and catch this season's biggest matchups, including a non-conference clash with LSU, the Sunflower Showdown against KU, and a pair of huge Big 12 matchups with Houston and Arizona. Order your tickets online at kstatesports.com/tickets or by calling 1-800-221-2287. We can't wait to see you in the Octagon of Doom.
Everybody is different. Some get injured and others wear down. At Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, your unique condition is at the center of what we do. Locally owned, OSMC is all-inclusive, featuring state-of-the-art equipment and treatment from diagnosis through surgery, physical therapy, and a return to activity to get you back to an active and pain-free life. Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, the same doctors trusted by Kansas State University. The greatest comebacks begin here. More information at kansasortho.com.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's new construction or expansion, our team simplifies complex projects. We build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
This is Dalton Melican with the Manhattan Fire Department for some home fire escape tips. When making a home escape plan, draw a map of each level of the house. Show all doors and windows, go to each room, and point 2 ways out. Practice the plan with everyone in your household, including visitors. Teach your children how to escape on their own in case you cannot help them. Make sure they can open windows, remove screen, and unlock doors. A closed door may slow the spread of smoke, heat, and fire. Install smoke alarms in every sleeping room outside each separate sleeping area. Have an outside meeting place, something permanent, like a tree, light pole, or mailbox, a safe distance in front of your home where firefighters will easily find you. Make sure your house number can be seen easily from the street both night and day. If there's a fire in your house, when the smoke alarm sounds, get out and stay out. Go to the outside meeting place, call 911 or the fire department. If there is smoke blocking the door or the first way out, use your second way out. Smoke is poisonous. If you must escape through the smoke, get low and go under the smoke to your way out. For more fire safety tips, visit us on Facebook at Manhattan Fire Department.
Brought to you by the Manhattan Fire Department and Manhattan Broadcasting Company.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through, or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
From opening night to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, don't miss a second of the NFL this season. Hi, this is Kurt Warner of Westwood One. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football, plus marquee games on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, and more. Westwood One is the exclusive radio home for every primetime and postseason game. It's right here.
1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calls for a chance of showers and possible thunderstorms tonight, mainly between 2 and 5 a.m. A low of 51, that chance of rain at 60%. Slight chance then for morning showers tomorrow, but will clear up as the day goes on. Sunshine, a high of 58, with wind gusts that could get as high as 25 miles per hour. A low of 33 then tomorrow night, with mostly clear skies.
State Farm Champions Classic underway. Michigan State with a slight 10-8 lead over KU. 11:38 to go first half. Hunter Dickinson for KU with all 8 of the points.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Is there a sports tradition that you cannot stand?
Oh, yeah. We actually asked this question. Can't remember which game, but I asked it on Power K Game Day because it was, probably the West Virginia game because that was right after Colorado. And if you went to the game, you got to see the Ralphie run in person. That was my first time to a game at Folsom. I did not like the Ralphie run. Underwhelming, and that Buffalo did not want to be there. The place gets really loud when Ralphie is out there.
Yeah.
And I just I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. It's not that cool.
K-State fans are going to hate me. I don't like it when a crowd chants first down.
You just want to come over here and kick me in the pants? It's kind of my job, you know? It's like, you know, if I'm not doing that, what am I doing? Hey, Giddens just carried the ball. First down, Cats. First and 10, 27, you know. I got to have the good for a Wildcat first down. I didn't start it. That started back in the 90s, as far as I understand. I think it was Ivan that started that.
Another one's at the Broncos games where they go, incomplete. Yeah. I just think it's overrated.
If I'm just, I have a few more. I'm not a fan of big drums. I think that's a waste of space. I'm not even sure if they play them. Yeah. I know Purdue has one. Who else? Texas has one. Who cares?
I think the Boomer Sooner or whatever that is, Boomer Schooner or whatever.
Well, Boomer's Sooner as the fight song or whatever, and then playing it every first down or every 1 yard carry. Yeah, it's
the Boomer Scooter.
I'm
not a fan of that either. I just like it when it tips over because that means OU's going to lose.
Well, let me give you one more. I think it's ridiculous when people, like teams, they touch things on the way out to the field.
Oh, yeah, like Notre Dame does?
Yeah, like touching signs.
Or Michigan.
Like, you know, you're going to get some magical power from the late Bronco Nagurski, and you're going to have the game of your life.
Hey, Bronco Nagurski's a legend, man. Don't disrespect the Bears legend.
That's why I brought him up. I'm like, he is an absolute legend. He's one of the best linebacker, right? One of the best.
He was a running back.
A running back. One of the best running backs of, like, you know, certainly of his era. But he's, you know, also from a long time ago. So, no. Touching things, no magical powers there. You're just touching material. Or a rock or whatever. All right, we got a bounce for AJ. I'm Mitch. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Cats.
Come on home to West Loop and Manhattan's West Side.
Manhattan Area Technical College, providing higher education.
Wildcat Fitness and Fun. Our family providing your family fitness and fun since 1994.
Inspire ENT and Pulmonology, dedicated to helping you live better.
Visit some old friends, discover some new. Come home to West Loop and Manhattan's West Side.
American Family Insurance.
As your American Family Insurance agent in Manhattan, I'm looking out for what matters to you. This is Rob Wild, agency owner at Wild & Associates LLC, located at 1601 Points. Call or stop in and let's talk. Whether it's your home, auto, business, farm, or life, see how we can help protect what matters the most to you. Rob Wild, Wild & Associates LLC.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
At Stormont Vale Health, our patients are our neighbors and our communities are home.
We invest in your health and our community by bringing high-quality healthcare closer to home. From our Wamego Clinic to our new campus in Manhattan and the Flint Hills Hospital in Junction City. Our partnerships with organizations like the Mayo Clinic and the Children's Miracle Network bring top-notch expertise to our region. We take pride in local collaboration to stay connected to our communities. Visit StormontVale.org.
Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care closer to home.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio, KMAN. When severe weather strikes,
tornado has now been confirmed.
We strike back with the information you need to stay safe. KMAN, Manhattan.